Welcome everyone to Aspirate Mentors March 2024 second workshop. On our part 1 video, I'll be going over on how to write your personal statement. Personal statement, for those of you who don't know what a personal statement is, it's a residency. A residency personal statement is a written document that occupies an application for a medical residency program. And yes, every program will need this personal statement. It's going to be one of their requirements. So no matter specialties that you apply, you should have a personal statement that's specific for that certain specialty. So the other one is, so use your personal statement to showcase your unique qualities, demonstrate your commitment to your chosen specialty. So whatever you mention on your personal statement should highlight the specialty. You can mention your hobbies, you can mention your childhood, you can mention any impactful experience that you had previously, but still tie it up with the specialty that you choose. So you should not forget that. So the other thing is that it should be well written. When we say well written, it shouldn't be bulky. It should be concise, well organized, and engaging. You shouldn't lose the reader. So the first line and the first paragraph should be as catchy as possible. So you should put yourself on the shoes of like the readers, right? So when you read a certain story, if the first line or if the first paragraph is not engaging to you, you will move on to the next one and try to seek that interesting story. So try to make it as engaging as possible. So the other point is you should tell a story with your personal statement. So whatever you write on your first paragraph should be further broadened or at least mentioned a little bit on your second paragraph so that you don't lose the reader, right? So on the first paragraph, if you mention something about an impactful experience, you should further broaden that on the second paragraph and mention how that, became a stepping stone for you to join medicine or to pursue a certain specialty that you further desire. So the next thing is that how many personal statements should you write? So you can write as many personal statements as you like. So let's say if you have 100 programs that you plan to apply, you can write 100 programs specifically for each program. But honestly, that's going to be really tiresome. I mean, people do it. I didn't do that, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't or you should do it. But you have the ability to write as many personal statements as you desire according to every program. But when you do that, for example, let's say you wrote a personal statement specifically for program A, and you're writing about how you want to join program A, what program A has to offer to you, or what you can contribute to program A. But if you have, let's say, hundreds of personal statements, and if you were able to write all of the personal statements specifically to a certain program, you might mix up when you upload the personal statement to another program. So you might mistakenly upload program A's personal statement to program B or C or more. So try to be watchful. You shouldn't be exerting yourself to write individual personal statements for every program. But let's say if you have a number one program in your mind, or maybe top 5, you can maybe customize those personal statements for those programs. But personally, I didn't do that. I just wrote, so I applied to one specialty, internal medicine. So my personal statement was mainly revolving around why I chose that specialty or why I chose internal medicine. But some people I've heard they have wrote specific personal statements for specific programs. So you should be aware that you have the ability to write as many personal statements as you like. And the other one is you should write different personal statements for different specialties. Even if, let's say, if you're applying and if you're planning to apply both to internal medicine and family medicine, I know they have these similarities, both of them, but still you should show your dedication why you chose internal medicine and show your dedication why you chose family medicine, pathology, and more. So that will show the reader or the program directors that you have been aspiring that certain specialty since starting your career, or at some point of your journey. So you should show that dedication to that specialty for sure. That you should do, but I wouldn't advise you to write maybe hundreds of personal statements for every program. So by saying that, even if you can write different and as many personal statements as you like, you can only assign one personal statement for each program. So it's not as if you can write, your letter of recommendation, where you can have like options to upload around 4 letter of recommendations, but for personal statements, you can only assign one for each program. So you should be cautious with that. So the other characters of a personal statement is you shouldn't use spatial formatting such as making it bold, italics, changing the color, or varying the alignment or underlining it or other formatting. So it should be written in a plain text formatting, and then once you finish it, you can just copy and paste it to the ERAS page where you can upload your personal statement. We'll go through that later on. So yeah, that's the main thing. So the next one is how long should your personal statement be? So on your ERAS CV, they allow you to write around like 28,000 characters on your ERAS CV. So I gotta ask a question. So how many pages do you guys think you can write using 28,000 characters? You can write them on the team chat, and then you can answer here. So you can tell me how many pages can you write using 28,000? You can just estimate it. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'm seeing 3, 2, a page, 53 pages. So normally it's going to range between 5 to 10 pages. So if you're using a single spacing, you can have up to like 10 pages, or if you try to, vary that, you can have something between 5 to 10 pages. So, and I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. So you are a program director or you're a program coordinator. So will you be able to go through 5 pages or 10 pages of an applicant when you have around 5,000, 6,000 applicants? No, right? So yeah, that's obvious. So you should, whenever you write your personal statement, you should keep in mind who is going to read it on the other side. So you should be cautious with that. So saying that, what should be your average number of your personal, the characters or words you should use? So that's usually, there's an average of around 750 to 850 words. That's mainly going to, reach to around 1 page. So around 1 page is usually what people use as a standard for their personal statement. So but that shouldn't be put in a box where you should condense everything in a single page. If you have something important or something that's not redundant in your era CV, or something that you should write on your personal statement, you can maybe add few words to that, but you shouldn't make it maybe short, because you shouldn't give them an impression that you didn't dedicate your time to write your personal statement, making it extra short. Or you shouldn't make it maybe longer than 1.5 page, or maybe longer than a page. So as much as possible, try to include everything in a single page, but also try to not to lose important points that you want to mention. And also you shouldn't just add some irrelevant events in your life. So it should be concise, focused, effectively convey your qualifications, experiences, and motivations. So it's important to prioritize quality over quantity. So ensure that your personal statement is engaging, well structured, and it effectively communicates your goals, experiences, and suitability for the residency program. Okay. So coming to the components of a personal statement. So usually it's better to have an average of maybe 4 paragraphs in your personal statement, where the first paragraph, as I mentioned earlier, it should be catchy, it should engage. So when a person is reading the first line, you should keep the reader wanting more, so that they can go through the whole thing, or at least try to go through the first paragraph and mention why why you are an interesting applicant to their program. So in this first paragraph, you can mention any anecdotes that you have or any unique experience that lead you to choose medicine. So you shouldn't make it that cheesy, obvious line. This is why I chose medicine or something like that, but try to personalize it. That's why it's called personal statement. So try to be based uh, on your personal experience. So your personal experience could be losing a family member, could be, seeing a gap in your community, but just because somebody else mentioned that, it shouldn't be like that. So maybe you can start off with your hobby, for instance, and then mention why that led you to choose a specialty or why that led you to become a physician in the first place. So that the first paragraph should mainly be, focusing on that. So on the second paragraph, this is when, if you didn't mention it on the first paragraph, this is when you should start to mention why you chose that certain specific specialty. And so for every quality that you mention, don't forget to mention examples. So let's say I chose internal medicine because it's versatile or because it gives me the authority to become a leader or to help people. And if you stop there, they won't be, interested because they know it's obvious. They know the characters of an internal medicine residency. But you can mention, so you can go back to your experience and mention a little bit of your experience. So I had a certain patient. When I managed that patient, I was able to experience my patient advocation or my leadership skills or something like that. So now you're not mainly mentioning and only mentioning a certain quality for that specialty, but now you are supporting it with a certain example. So don't forget to add that. So on your third paragraph, you have to build whatever you started on the second paragraph. So you started talking about a certain specialty. So I can broaden that, and then maybe you can relate it to your medical school rotations or your work experience, and then tie it up what you learned and how that experience inspired you to join that certain specialty. So when I mention, you should mention your work experience or rotations or more. You shouldn't be repeating your ERA CV here. So you shouldn't just say, I rotated with Dr. somebody and just stop there. But you can say, when I rotated with Dr. somebody, I saw that how he was or she was treating a patient, and that person was, let's say, an internist, right? And then you are aspiring to become an internal medicine resident. So as an internist, I saw how he was helping patients and how he was engaging with his patients, and I gained experience, and I look forward to become a compassionate internist or something just like my mentor. So you're not just mentioning the person, you're not just mentioning your rotation, but you are tying it up with, your aspiration or admiration to that certain specialty. So on the last and fourth paragraph, you should conclude points that you mentioned above on your third, using your third paragraphs, right? So, and also don't forget to mention that you look forward to join their program. So this is where you try to say that I aspire to join your program. And then you shouldn't be, cocky. Just mention that I'm going to bring this to the table. I'm going to be a physician, a great physician, or I'm going to be an asset for you. But you should also be humble enough to mention that you are looking forward to learn from the program and to get mentors from, wonderful program director or wonderful faculty staff that you have in your program. So you should mention what you bring to the table. At the same time, you should also mention what you look forward, to get from that certain program. So, what things should you avoid in your personal statement? So you should not plagiarize. They have mentioned it specifically on their ERA CV that you should not copy somebody else's personal statement because they are going to check that. There are so many plagiarism checkers, and let's say if you are copying your personal statement from a previous applicant, that previous applicant's CV and ERA's personal statement is going to be in their, records, right? So they will definitely be trying to look for plagiarism, and like even if there are going to be thousands of applicants, the applicants that they're going to choose and review the personal statements are going to be not as thousands as the applicants, right? So that means the program directors, the program coordinators are going to read the personal statements that they like, right? So what if you plagiarized or copied that personal statement? They will definitely recall that. So you should avoid plagiarism. And again, you shouldn't make it too long and lose the reader. So the other main thing you should watch is that you should avoid controversial issues such as politics, religion, whatever, could, incite disagreement between you and the reader, or even get you not to be chosen for an interview. So if you do, as much as possible, even if it was like why you joined medicine or why you plan to choose a specialty, you should try to avoid these controversial issues. So the other thing is, so some people mention you should mention your red flags in your personal statement, but for some instance, I'm not, keen to that, because you can mention some of your red flags, but you shouldn't mention it and just highlight it there and then give another reason for your reviewers to reject your application, right? You can mention your red flags, let's say low step score. But when you mention your low step score, you shouldn't mention it just because you to inform them, because they already have your score. But you should mention how you overcame that low score or what you did to change that. But if you're not going to mention that, or your battles that you faced, and then what you did to overcome that, you should avoid mentioning your red flags as much as possible. The other thing is that you should not repeat your era CV on your personal statement. So I have mentioned that earlier. If you're talking about your hobbies or your work experience or your rotations, you shouldn't just say, I rotated with a person. I like to hike. I like to ride a bike or something. You should mention, if you have to mention those experiences and your hobbies, you should tie it up with why you chose that certain specialty and how your hobby or your experience inspired you to pursue a certain specialty. So the other thing is that don't define or elaborate what a certain specialty is. So you shouldn't say internal medicine is a specialty which studies adult medicine, chronic illnesses such as hypertension. They know that. It's already written. Anybody can know that what a certain specialty is. So don't do that. So the other thing is that you should not include your entire life story. It's going to be redundant for them. And then especially if you chose to mention your childhood, it should in a certain way, imply why you chose medicine or something like that. If not, don't try to mention something remote events or something that happened in your childhood, because you're going to lose the reader again. They would want to know what you did in medical school maybe, but after that, what you did after you graduate from your medical school. So the other thing is that you should never write negatively about other specialties. So they know that we are going to apply more than one program for sure. And also as IMGs, we might, plan to apply to more than 2 or 3 specialties. But whenever you do that, you shouldn't mention. So some people think when you are talking about, let's say, internal medicine, if you are ignoring, or maybe like when you say like I was rotating as a medical student in different specialties, but I was not interested to rotate in my surgical rounds, but I was so interested to rotate and shadow an internal medicine physician or not. This doesn't show your dedication to internal medicine, but it's going to show your negligence towards other specialties also. So you should never mention that. So the other thing is that you should not oversell yourself. I know you should talk about yourself and more, but you shouldn't not you shouldn't make it like as like a brag fest, or to talk about I did this, I did that, or you should mention what you learned. If you have any setbacks, how you overcame those setbacks, but it should not be, a place for you to oversell yourself, and it might make the reader think that you are arrogant or you are just self-centered. So you should avoid that. So the other point is that you should not be dishonest, or you should not make up stories. They're going to read it. They're going to definitely ask you on your personal statements during your interviews. And then let's say you lied and you matched, and you're going to be colleagues with those people who interviewed you. And this thing is going to come up and it's going to ruin your career. So you shouldn't be dishonest and just write something to complete your personal statement. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you should not mix up your personal statement meant for different specialty. I know it's going to be overwhelming. That's why you should start early on, and then you should separate it, and then not mention, not up, I mean, upload personal statement meant for surgery to internal medicine or family medicine and vice versa. You can maybe delete the personal statement that you uploaded and change it, but once the program start to review it, they might have already seen your personal statement, so you should avoid to make that mistake from in the first place. So if you're stuck, or if you're just about to start how to write your personal statement, these certain questions, you can ask certain questions to give you, an insight on how to start your personal statement. So you can ask yourself, what made you choose medicine? Or if there were any impactful experiences, either personal or professional, that made you choose a certain specialty. Or you can ask yourself what your strongest qualities are. Or if you had any failures, you can ask yourself how you overcame those failures. The other one is you can you can ask yourself if you have any mentors that inspired you to pursue a specialty, or maybe medicine, or somebody like, it could be like a life mentor. The other one is you can also ask yourself if you have any interesting hobbies that can translate on why you chose a certain specialty. So you can add as many questions as you like, and then while you try to answer these questions, you can jot down some points on your notepad, and then it can give you, a structure on how to design your personal statement. So once you start, once you write your personal statement, you go to your ERAS dashboard. So for first-time applicants, this is how your ERAS dashboard is going to look like. So after you log in, your ERAS picture is going to be here. So your full name, your AMC ID, and email address will be mentioned on this section. So on the dashboard, you can have your applications here, the date you submitted your applications, your personal statements are going to be here, and also whether the applications are released to a designated dean's office or not. So this is going to appear once the ERAS season is opened. So when you come to the document section, you can have place to upload your letter of recommendation, your personal statement, or if you have any USMLE request, like to send your step scores to your programs, it's going to be mentioned here. Your medical school transcript is going to be here. Your dean's letter or MSP is here. Your ECFMG status report and your photo is going to look like here. So on this section, it's going to show programs. So if you have any programs that you saved, you should find it here. If you have any programs that you applied to, you should find it here. So these are just important resources. And if you get interviews, you're going to have notifications here. If you have any inboxes, you're going to have notifications here and here as well. And for in this section, when you click here, you can find programs to search programs, and then programs that you applied to, and programs that you rejected or withdrawn from. And documents are here. So now we're going to see where you're going to upload and see your personal statement. So here is where, and this is just a screenshot, but you can click this and then you can see the next page. So on the next page, this is how you can create your personal statement. So you're going to have a personal statement title and a personal statement content. So on the title, you can enter a title that will enable you to easily identify your personal statements when assigning into programs, right? So this title is not going to be visible to the program directors or coordinators or anybody else but you. But let's say this is going to be personal statement for internal medicine programs. Again, you are going to add your personal statement here and then preview it and then upload it. Again, you can mention personal statement for family medicine programs. So these titles are not going to be visible to programs. So that way you won't be mixing up which personal statements that you want to upload. So after you enter your title, this is where I have shown you. So they allow you to write around 28,000 characters. So this is misleading, right? So they give you the opportunity, but they will not be able to review the whole thing. So you should be wise. Even if they mention this, you shouldn't keep on writing and writing. So after you write it in your notepad or in your different apps in your laptop, you can just copy that and then paste it here. or you can just start writing here, but I wouldn't advise you because you won't be able to visualize the whole thing at the end until you preview it. So I would advise you to use other apps such as Microsoft Word, Google Docs, or something. You should write it and then copy it here. So after that, you're going to preview your personal statement. So before you upload it, they're going to show you what your personal statement is going to look like. And after that, so this is how your personal statement is going to look like. So after you upload it, you can see that the status where you updated it. So this is where I updated my personal statement. So it shows you here. So as I've said earlier, you can create as much as you like. So this is a create new button. So even if you have a personal statement that you already applied here, you can just create new and then add more personal statements as you like. So after that, you can click on this action button and this is what comes up. So in this action button, you can edit your personal statement, you can view and print and save it to your CV, and also in your laptop, and then also you can assign it. So even if the personal statement is here, unless you assign your documents, the programs will not be able to see them. So mind you, whatever you do, letter of recommendations, if you have already uploaded it, but if you didn't assign it, still it's going to be like 0 or empty on your program director's dashboard. So you should watch for that. And then you should just assign it once you're done with that. So when you assign, again, be watchful. So I only applied to internal medicine, and I didn't need to, label my personal statement as personal statement for internal medicine or family medicine or more. But let's say if you're applying for different specialties, again, this is how the title is going to appear. So if I meant this like personal statement for internal medicine, personal statement for family medicine, personal statement for pediatrics. So when I assign, I should be cautious to which program specifically I'm going to assign this personal statement. Again, you can add more and then assign it again. So you should be cautious with that. So saying that, I'm going to give you guys another exercise and then try to see, so try to see example A and example B. So try to go through them and then let me know which is a good personal statement, and put yourself as a program director and you can see which program and which personal statement. This is the first paragraph of personal statement. So A versus B, you can just let me know. So I've seen many A's and maybe B. So you can just maybe unmute yourselves. Let me see. Unmute yourselves and you can tell me why you chose A or why you chose B. Or you can just text me. You can just put it on the team chat. Okay, so yeah. One person said, okay, so Giovanna said B doesn't explain the connection with the internal medicine and talks too much about traveling. Okay, I think Dr. Man said B. Why B? Why did you choose B? Okay, so B is showing the action rather than telling. Okay. B doesn't correlate with introduction and unrelated stuffs are mentioned there. Okay. Okay, so I gotta ask you guys. So on example A, yes, I think Rana mentioned it. So the only thing about A is that there's still controversy about that. Okay, so Siddharth said A is more personalized and does not flow like a story rather than B. Okay, so Rana mentioned something about controversy. So abortion. Do you guys think this is a controversial issue or not? Right. So abortion, it's controversial lately because so many, states are fighting against these issues. Abortion, some of them are pro or against that. There are certain practitioners in OBGYN who perform this and those who don't. So this is the first rule that you should avoid. You should avoid controversial issues. I know you can defend your answers or whatnot, but as much as possible you should find other aspirations why you chose a certain specialty and try to avoid certain controversies, because lately they were I think discussing, and there were so many speculations with some. Okay, you're good, Giovanna. So certain states support this and certain states don't. So you should, be up to date with that, and then try to be aware of certain controversial issues. The rest it was well written, so it was cohesive, and then the person was trying to tell a story on, certain relevant life experience in the past. But still try to avoid controversial issues, even though you can support your answer, and even though you can, further discuss with that. What if the person is completely against abortion, or what if the program that you're experiencing or applying might not, prohibit you, or might not be a program that supports abortion, let's say. So that means they would think that since this inspired you, they would think that you're not going to fit in there. And then, this is going to be something controversial. So try to avoid that. So on the second example, so I wrote this, intentionally, because I know the person was talking a lot about traveling. But yeah, as you said, the main issue was here is that the person was mainly focusing on his or her hobbies. But still, at the end, if you see, I have found internal medicine to provide the same opportunities for learning as I have in my travels. So uh, that being said, so this is where I wanted to okay, give me 1 second. Okay, so this is where I wanted to let you guys know that you can mention your hobbies, you can mention whatever life experience that you have, but you should tie it up, and then, make it maybe a little bit interesting to begin with, and then you can just add, I have found internal medicine to provide the same opportunities for learning as I have experiences through my travels. And then you can broaden on your second or third paragraph that how you are curious, just like your travels, you're curious to know about patients' different chronic illnesses, or different spectrums of internal medicine, or something like that. So that's when you can say, I want to further explore different aspects of internal medicine, or something just like I explored and love traveling, and something like that. So who knows, a person who's going to review that might enjoy traveling or so, and it can be catchy, because usually they are going to see lots of personal statements which are mainly talking about a loss of a family member, or a loss of a patient, or something like that. Most of us have that personal statement, but this is one of the other spectrums that you can see, and then further work. You can this is how you incorporate your hobbies to your personal statement. But mind you, if let's say this person was lying and mentioned the pyramids of Egypt, or Taj Mahal, or the reclining Buddha in Thailand, and then the person just wrote that from a certain blog that he or she read. And what if the program director is going to, definitely they are going to ask you, even if they went to that place or not. So you should be prepared. You shouldn't lie on your personal statement, for sure. So this is the end of part 1. We'll continue on how to write an ERA CV and Q&A session on part 2. Thank you for watching.